operations that are happening generally below our conscious awareness and that are indeed vegetative. They can be controlled by emotion. You know, we were all familiar with the idea that when we are emotionally distraught that our digestion can be different or et cetera. But typically we can't control, for instance, in a conscious way, the rate of our digestion or the speed of our heartbeat in any kind of direct way. We can have a particular pattern of thought to control those. But in general, those functions were thought to be vegetative and outside of our conscious control. And the name autonomic nervous system sort of swallowed and overtook the vegetative part, so it includes that, but also three main aspects of body to brain signaling. And those three aspects are heart rate, could be quickening or slowing of heart rate. We are and we can be very aware of that, some of us more than others. Gut, and especially the chemical composition and the extent to which our gut is empty or full. So heart, stomach, and then rate of breathing and sort of depth of breathing, meaning how much air we have available to us. And I think the three main ways to think about the way that the brain and body communicate is that it's either going to be mechanical or chemical. Let's use the gut as an example. Your stomach can feel acidic, or it can feel nice and warm and fuzzy, whatever that is in a chemical sense. Your heart rate can feel like it's going at a rate that's appropriate for your circumstances. You know, if you're running, it could be quick. And if you're sitting in a chair quietly at the doctor's office waiting to be called back there and all of a sudden your heart starts racing, then you would think, well, that's appropriate for that situation, but it's not uncomfortable, right? It's out of sync with what you are doing, which is sitting. So there's mechanical information and then there's chemical information. And with respect to your lungs, you know, you can feel like you're out of air or you have plenty of air. You can feel like your breathing is labored or it's easy, or in the chemical sense that the air that you're breathing, your lungs are burning or it feels easy to breathe. So basically there's chemical and mechanical signaling from the body to the brain, and the brain interprets all of that. And we put all of that under the umbrella of the so-called autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system can really be best thought of along a continuum. And here I'll avoid complicated nomenclature, but I'll throw it out there for the aficionados. Some people have probably heard of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. That naming is a little bit misleading. Again, what we can really think about the autonomic nervous system as is a continuum, or more like a seesaw, of at one end is alertness, and at the other end is calmness. Right? That is translated to the so-called sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, but I'll call it the alertness and calmness system just for sake of simplicity. So it's sort of like a seesaw, and it has different neural circuits, and basically whether or not you feel very alert or panicked or alert but calm or a little bit of anxiety, that's going to depend on the balance between this alertness system and the calmness system. If you're having a full-blown panic attack, then the alertness system is, you know, it's as if the seesaw is tilted all that way. If you have, if you're deeply asleep, well, then the calmness system is really tilted down. You could say that's a portion of the seesaw. This is all kind of obvious and dates back, 100 years or so, which isn't that long in the history of science, but we've known this sort of thing for a while. Okay, what's interesting and I think more relevant nowadays is to think about one's own interpretation of those signals and how that relates to anxiety and, as you pointed out, exploration, and then to think about where the nodes of control are. In this seesaw model that I'm putting forward, the seesaw has to include what I would call a hinge, a location in the middle in which you can voluntarily adjust the seesaw to either be more tilted toward alert or more tilted toward asleep. And for many people, they find that their overall level of autonomic arousal is either inappropriate or inadequate for the demands of their life. Inappropriate meaning their heart is racing, they feel more jittery, more as if movement would be the default and worry would be the default and anticipation is the default than is appropriate for their circumstances. Waking up in the morning and feeling stressed, for instance, immediately without any immediate cause, or maybe stress about real life events. For other people, they feel more exhausted than they would like. They're having a hard time leaning into the pressures of daily life.